I've been doing construction technology for 20 years, and you meet a lot of folks over those years. And then I don't think anyone's ever won a job over technology. I mean, it may help in your proposal and that kind of stuff, but it's not something that's super secret anymore. I mean, everything's out there. My fanboy's coming out right now, but
Yeah, we
but
can
it's
tell, man.
something.
I can feel the passion. It's good.
Feel
Yeah.
the passion. but that's what excites me more than anything is just the instant improvement in what's going to happen with the software, and eventually
Yeah.
may replace SaaS altogether, right? And we're just
Mm-hmm.
going to have AI agents for everything. And I see that being the future of robotics. Is AI and autonomy is good, but really people are where it's going to be at with that, and then cheaper rentable robots like teleworker AI is where that's going to be, in my opinion.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Bricks and Bytes podcast, where we dive into construction and AEC technology. Before we get started though, if you're a startup founder or operator responsible for innovation in your company, or you want a deeper, more insightful look into technology in AEC, you won't want to miss our newsletter. From deep dives into particular technologies such as AI, robotics, design, software, and so on. Hot takes from investors betting big in AEC technology, and advice on building tech companies, including the stories and takeaways of the most successful AEC technology founders. Head over to www.bricks-bytes.com and sign up today to get this exclusive material straight to your inbox. And now for the episode.
So, good morning, Paul. Thanks for joining us all the way from. Actually, you stole one of our cities' names where you're based. So,
I know.
how
I
about
guess
that?
are we the second Birmingham?
I mean,
Well, actually, it's here. It's not Birmingham. It's Birmingham, right? Without H.
Birmingham.
Birmingham. The kind of ham is silent. Also,
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not sure Birmingham in the UK is a place which is super desirable to visit. I don't know about Alabama. Maybe some
I need
people
you to
get
say. I need you to say Birmingham.
Okay,
Let me
sorry,
hear it, guys.
Birmingham.
Birmingham. You got to get the
Birmingham.
A. There you
Birmingham.
go.
I'll do. Okay, Birmingham in the UK is not the most desirable place to visit.
Someone
I could be
look at you
wrong though.
crazy if you say that over there.
Exactly. No, it's
Yeah.
actually what British people do when you're like mocking American accent, because it's like of the way that it's pronounced, Birmingham.
Yeah.
But we're just quintessentially British, right? It's got Birmingham. Cool. All right, Paul. So could you tell us a little bit about what you do, what your role is, and what the day-to-day looks like?
Yeah, so I'm the director of virtual construction for MJ Harris Construction, and I'm basically in charge of all the construction technology for the company. Day to day is virtual design and construction and BIM, 3D coordination, as well as managing our drone fleet. Managing our laser scanner and doing a lot of our laser scanning, as well as our robotic total stations, and then we have TrueLook job site cameras deployed on all our jobs, and then 360 workflows with DroneDeploy ground, all the types of things that help us build. That also includes Procore and really supporting the field with our Procore efforts and the things like inspections, observations, and workflows of that nature as well.
Mm-hmm. Which area do you think, or should we just maybe talk about MJ Harris first? Like, what's how big the
Quick
business is?
context.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we're about 300 million a year. We're a national contractor. We've got offices here in Birmingham, right, Alabama, here, and then we have an office in Nashville, and then Phoenix as well. We do work on almost all 50 states. So we've done 7 or 8 jobs of hospitals in California. We've built a hospital in Alaska. We've gone all over because our clients build different medical rehabilitation hospitals all over, and so we go wherever they need a hospital. And then, in addition to healthcare construction, we're also doing higher education construction. We've probably built 15 or 16 facilities for UAB here in Alabama, and then lots of other places as well. And then K through 12, and then we have a mix of different types of other types of buildings as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, which area of construction did you supply the most technology to in terms of MJ Harris?
Well, the one thing about us is we'll do technology on all our jobs. We're 100% coordination, BIM coordination on all of our projects, no matter if it requires it or not. I would say the highest need is definitely going to be healthcare, just because of the systems, the overhead systems. You've got extra stuff, you've got tighter tolerances, and just a whole lot of things overhead that are required in a healthcare facility. But all of them need it, right? So all of them need drones and laser scanning and 360 photos and BIM. But if you're talking about one product that really needs it, it's going to be healthcare.
Okay, very interesting on the laser scanning part. Maybe we can touch on you as an early adopter for DroneDeploy Ground, which was in 2017. So that was actually Struction Site at the time, right? Which we will get onto later, and which was then acquired by DroneDeploy and is now DroneDeploy Ground. So that was quite early. What's your approach? What do you have like a approach or a way of identifying construction tech before it becomes, like, let's say, mainstream?
So for that specific example, I had a friend that told me about it. So Todd, he's in charge of Choate Constructions Technology over in Atlanta. He just said, "Hey, have you heard about the 360 cameras and Struction Site and this kind of thing?" And I said, "No, I haven't." And so this is something that I learned from a friend, and then it became one of the most impactful things in construction technology in my career. And I say that because it's something that we're able to deploy easily, and it gives us a lot of bang for our buck, right? Our guys are taking a photo and we're getting so much information from it. And and at the time, I hadn't seen it at a conference. I hadn't seen it anywhere. This, just a friend was trying it out and using it, and it became something that's pretty mainstream for the industry now. And it also addressed a problem we had. So we had the issue of our guys are taking photos. Back then we had maybe a digital camera for the job site, and then we also had the guys' phones and other things. But if they're taking photos with this digital camera, and then you don't really know where you are in the building, and then they spend all this time trying to download the photos and label the photo and do a whole lot of back and forth, then you're really spending a whole lot of time of our project engineers' time, and then you're not getting anything in return, really. And then when we have to go back and find something to mitigate our risk, we can't. So it solved a simple problem that was a problem. We identified that problem and said, here's a solution. And then this solution is a very low lift for us in terms of training and really adoption. Now, yeah, I had to go out there myself and take the photos the first time. And the first, maybe for the first year, I was doing a lot of it too, just to say, hey, this is something that's going to be a value to us. And then also training the guys on site. But then it just caught on, and now we've got 30 360 photo packs that I send throughout the country to every one of our jobs. It has it, no matter if it's a handicap renovation or a $140 million building. We're doing DroneDeploy ground photos on that job because we know that it's going to save us time, money, and we're going to have a documentation. It could be a daily documentation of the construction on the job because we're a CM at risk contractor and we're on the hook for everything that goes on out there, right? I mean, yes, we have trade partners, but in the end, we're ultimately responsible. If we're not taking pictures of what's going in, then we're just, it's a disservice to us in terms of our risk mitigation. So it's been good.
How come you pick DroneDeploy versus other solutions that exist in the market?
Back then, they were one of the early adopters in terms of just deploying stuff. So they were one of the first. And then also they were the ones that were the most aligned with construction. So their founders, Matt and Philip, they came from the industry. They had came from the reality capture space with Faro and other things, and they really had the knowledge of how construction companies work. And so I like that a lot. And so when you talk to these tech companies, you really got to look at who their leadership is and who and I talked to them. I'm not just talking to a salesperson. I was talking to them about stuff and really look at what their background is and what their vision is for the product. And that's what really got me excited and got me excited about 360 photos and their product in general. And now if you take that even today to where DroneDeploy's ground's going, the fact that they're able to populate so much information from a project, then that's going to set them up as a player in the AI space as we go. So artificial intelligence, being able to analyze all that data and really marry that with all the things that are coming. So they were innovators to begin with, and now they're continuing to be innovators as their product evolves and they have more things they're rolling out. And them being able to be married with DroneDeploy Air and that whole combination now, that's something that's huge, because you really, when you're talking about construction, you don't want to have a whole bunch of different things. That's why Procore is so successful as well. One thing, right? And now when we talk about reality capture, drone and ground in one thing, that's a big deal. And it's been beneficial. Yeah.
So it's like a one platform, and you can capture reality from the air, as in you called it air, and the ground. And it sounds to me, from what I know, they're one of, if not the only, that can actually do that within the market.
Yeah, they're the only one, and that was a strategic plan, right? They want to serve us, and they want to make their job easier for us. So why not combine two great tools? I was already using DroneDeploy, and I was already using Instruction Site, because these are the two of the industry leaders, and now they're combined. So this just makes it much easier for us.
Powerful force. Do you get
Yeah.
requirements for both on all projects, or do you find that it could just be ground on one, air on another, or do you just do both? Because
We do both on all of them. So we have a internal requirement for our field engineers, which is our entry level field guys, to be licensed drone pilots. So as soon as you get hired at MJ Harris, you start watching 22 hours of drone videos from Remote Pilot 101, and you go
Nice.
and you go take the test. And then you get a drone. This is your drone assigned to you. I have inventory. I track all the guys and their drones, and then we get them out there using it, because you think about it. Early on, when I first started construction, we're paying in 2005 dollars, we're paying planes to $400 a flight, right? To take a picture that we just send the owner. But now in 20 years later, we've got all the different types of capabilities. We still do the great, Hollywood types of videos for our owners, and they love that. But we have all these other capabilities now with drones, and why not have our own internal people providing that type of service? So
Beautiful.
What do you use this data and captured by DroneDeploy? Like exactly, what would be the activities that once it is captured, then how do you utilize the structured data?
So there's two ways of doing that, right? So we're going to have a total orthomosaic that allows us to have a flat, accurate plan that we can mark up, that we can use for logistics and other things. The other part of that is going to be our photogrammetry model, to where we're not only sharing a video with our owners and our internal team, but then you can share out a photogrammetry model as well, to where they can navigate through that model themselves and see any kind of issues that they may not be able to see from a static video. So it just allows for more visualization on our part. And there's 100 other things you can do with DroneDeploy as well, but those are kind of our core things that we want to do. We want to deliver a visual, more visibility to the owner and to our internal team, or maybe even a design partner that's not in town, right? So we've built buildings where some of our design partners won't even be in the same city or across the country, and for them to have the ability to see a clear photogrammetry model as well as video and input on things is great, because you can't always go out there to make a job site tour as often as they want. And we rather them see things early than later and say, oh, well, that's not what I intended. That's not my design intent. Now you got to change it, and it's a cost to us. And so the more communication, the better, right? So we feel that that's a top thing for us.
I'll be curious, Paul, if you are able to measure the hard ROI on these things, because one thing you just mentioned as a good point is capturing things early, perhaps. But do you have a method, or have you seen that, I don't know, the reality capture saves you X or Y?
I think on the DroneDeploy ground, we definitely have, because we've had to go back. Like a hospital would be active, right? And there may be a heating and cooling area that's maybe not really working like it should. Well, we suspected that maybe one of the walls had not gone all the way to deck. We had to check it out. But how do you do that when an active hospital? Well, you want to go in there and pop a bunch of tiles and make your owner mad and relocate people? No, we go to DroneDeploy ground. We find exactly where the location is, and then we have the trade go in there and fix it, right? Now, that rarely ever happens, but it did happen in this one small instance, and it would have been, it's a small area, but it would have been a big deal, right, if we hadn't found that. And then if you think about when something gets covered up, it's hidden forever, but we're still responsible for it. So say if a trade doesn't put blocking in a wall, you're still responsible for that, right? But he covers it up, and all of a sudden you got a guy that's walking and inspecting everything, and all of a sudden this stuff's covered up, and you got to go back and check, hey, was blocking really put in there? Maybe we didn't do our blocking inspection like we needed to. Hey, now you have a photo. So and then rebar, anything that gets covered up is a big deal for us. So that's one value. Now when you think about reality capture in terms of in general, laser scanning, we use a Trimble X7. It's a huge value for us. I lecture at Auburn a lot, and I call it the fancy tape measure. Because it's basically what it is. It's a $50,000 to $60,000 tape measure, but it's allowing you to capture everything at once. And then we're in any kind of existing facility, which we do a lot of these, especially healthcare renovations. Our design partners have no idea what's up there because these plans are so old, and really us getting in there early, scanning it, and then getting that information back to the 3D model to where we can then model in all the other things and see how it's really going to interact has been tremendous for us. I just went to Yuma, Arizona 2 weeks ago. Drove across the desert, flew into Phoenix, drove across the desert 3 hours, went in there and scanned with the X7 and captured all the data for the center of Yuma Regional Medical Center, where all the different systems combine. And our design partners had no idea what was in there, right? We're able to scan it, convert that to 3D, and then have that information the next week for us all to coordinate and see how we're going to plan out the coordination of that area.
Beautiful.
So that's a huge value. It's something that you can never do with a tape measure. We've actually tried with a tape measure before we really had scanning, and 2 weeks of measuring in a basement at a UAB job, and it was still not right. And this is from the mechanical experts. And then we scan it. It took an hour, and then it's perfect, and we could see all the variances. So yeah.
X7 is a Trimble one, yes?
Yeah, and they've got an X9 out now too, and they're both great products. And the one thing I like about the Trimbles, and some of the other scanners have this now too, but on-site registration. So if you think about registering a point cloud, you used to have to do this on your computer in the office, but now we're able to do it as we're scanning. So when I drive across the desert and I fly to Arizona and I do all this, it takes a lot of time and money. So you imagine if you're out there and scanning and you miss something, like you forget to go around the corner or something's blocking something, and then you get on the plane and you go all the way back. Oh, I missed something. Now I got to go spend $2,000 and 4 days of my life and go back. Well, this eliminates all that because it does this registration and connection on a tablet in the field while you scan. And so that's been a great innovation for reality capture over, I'd say, the past 5 or 6 years. That's really helped us in terms of the practice of capturing data.
How do you find then the structuring of the data from the point cloud into the either drawings or 3D model? Is it straightforward, or it needs like quite a lot of manpower?
I would say you can import it into Revit and then trace over the stuff and model. So there is a little bit of manpower that goes with that. There's software out there that will convert point clouds to 3D geometry. That's making it better, and it's getting better and better. So that's one area where you're starting to see eventually we're not going to have to manually model anymore, because there is a production time. That whole, that hospital, it probably takes about 4 or 5 days of production time to get the 3D geometry. The other thing you're starting to see is there's products out there like Centu, and Trimble has a great product now to where we're sharing point clouds on the cloud on the cloud, right? To where you're able to see all the data from the laser scan and easily share it. Because this data is like 5, 6, 10 gigs of data, and you can't necessarily email it to somebody. But if you're able to share this with a client on the cloud and say, hey, here's a visualization of what we just did, you can click it into a mesh view and see solids. And this kind of gives you a sneak peek while we're producing a 3D model to clash and do the other things with, right?
Cool. And cool technologies between current design tools and this data capturing. for like quick design or anything you can tell about that?
In terms of,
On one
I don't
side,
know if I'd have an answer.
on
There's
one
so
side,
many out there.
yeah,
Any
on
that
one
I'm
side.
particularly using, I'd say, if you have some.
Well, no, actually, I'm trying to sneak something from you.
Yeah.
On one side, we've got the existing building, which for which we've done the
Yeah.
measured survey, you can call it, right? And on the
Yeah.
other hand, you've got a designer who wants to design the new design intent on this project, right? So that
Yeah.
has been
Well, RealWorks is what I use as far as point cloud, and that's a Trimble product, and it's great. And as far as refining a point cloud, it also has ways where you can model in there. You can use some modeling tools in there as well. So that's what I use. I mean, it's kind of associated with the scanner you got. So a lot of Trimble people use RealWorks. A lot of Leica people like to use their stuff. But you could use any of them because the scanner will export whatever type of file format you like. So most of the time. So yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay, Paul, could you tell us, is there like a framework or process you follow when you're evaluating new tech at MJ Harris?
Yeah, so I'm really looking at the end result. So I want to look at what the field. I start with the field because they're the most important to me because that's our last line of defense before stuff starts costing time and money, right? And then I look at what their issues are and how I could solve them, how I could make their day better or shorter or anything. So I think the DroneDeploy ground was a good example. These guys are spending a ton of time doing something that no one saw any value in, and then we changed it and added value. Um, I'm doing that now with agentic AI. I'm using data grid, I'm meeting with the guys in the field, talking to the assistant project managers and saying, hey, it looks like you process submittals all day long. What can we do to help you with that? So we build out a submittal agent that helps check those submittals with the specs, the drawings, and other things, and make sure that that submittal that we're getting from the trade contractor is what we need. Same thing for schedule analysis. Hey, we need to look at all the types of schedule risk that we have, and we need to make sure that the risk is clear before we have our biweekly scheduling meeting. Why don't we build out an agent in Data Grid and analyze that? And so it's all an end result, right? I'm not saying, hey, I want to use AI because AI is a hot thing and I'm a AI fanboy, which I am, and all this other stuff. No, I want to do it to make your job easier. And if it's not making your job easier, I don't want to do it. Um, so that's the main thing I want to do before anything, before I deploy anything. And then it kind of, once we see that success in a pilot or like I'm testing a data grid out on a couple jobs and it's been fantastic, then that'll kind of move on up the chain to say, I have a monthly executive meeting where I talk about what I'm doing. And in that executive meeting, I would tell all the guys, the COOs, everybody, hey, this is what we did. Here's what our findings, and here's how it saved guys time. What do you think? Right. And that's how it goes. Right. So you want to have I don't want to go to leadership at the beginning and say, hey, here's a cool new thing. What do you think? I haven't done it on anything. I'm not sure. Because that's wasting their time. Right. I want to figure it out. That's my job, is to figure it out and see the value and then bring that value to them in a concise document and then talk about it and then talk about next steps. So
how about like scouting for the solution? Like how do you say you have a problem that keeps coming up. What's your trusted source of information from that point to go, here's 5 options to solve that problem?
Other people, podcasts. Other people.
Bricks Bytes.
Only you guys. I only watch this. And I'm like, I'm going to do what they say.
Man, you could be in trouble if you do that.
No, but honestly, I think podcasts are a good source, but also just friends. So I've been doing construction technology for 20 years, and you meet a lot of folks over those years. And then I don't think anyone's ever won a job over technology. I mean, it may help in your proposal and that kind of stuff, but it's not something that's super secret anymore. I mean, everything's out there. I mean, in 2005, when we were just getting into BIM and virtual design and construction, that kind of stuff, people were very closed off about it at other companies because like, oh, I got this thing that's gonna make me the best. But it's everywhere. Everything's everywhere now. Why not just share it and make everyone else's job easier? So I'll pick up the phone and call my friends at other companies, or we've got a Slack channels where we share ideas and we just talk about stuff. And LinkedIn's a great resource as well. And then find those people that have tried something and something that's been successful, and then you be the next person. Now, I've been the first on some things just because I've seen the value, but I always kind of like being the second too, right? And then my friend could be the first.
Yeah.
But they're both good avenues. So
Yeah, you jump. No, you jump.
yeah,
No.
you look bad. You look bad when it fails and the field doesn't trust you anymore. but
Paul, on
but
these
I've done
pilots,
that too, though. So
Of
on these
course.
pilots, for example, for data grid or not necessarily, are these paid pilots, and how do you look at pilots? Do they have to be free or they can be paid?
I mean, you have to invest some money in most pilots these days. And I understand that because, and if you hear it from the software perspective as well, they feel like if a client doesn't have something invested, then they're not going to pay attention to it, and it's just going to be, whatever. Now there is a limit to what some companies can invest, and you'll see there's a wide range of costs between some pilots. And so if I'm speaking to the vendor area and all these technology companies, they just have to be aware of that, right? I mean, are you only going to have multi-billion-dollar companies pilot your product, or do you want to have some type of scalable um, range? But the general contractor has to have some skin in the game for it to really be successful on both ends. So that's where innovation budgets come in, right? To where GCs really need to have innovation budgets, or at least some kind of money allotted on a project to do these types of things to continually innovate. I mean, we have money for things like water cups and all kind of stuff, right? I mean, why not put a little bit in some of these jobs, these multi-million-dollar jobs to do this? Or even if you're a small GC, anything in there is better than nothing, because then you say, hey, we're continuously innovating, we're trying to be better, and we have a budget to pull from, whether it's project based or a general overhead, innovation budget, to where it's a BIM, VDC, and everything budget that you pull from.
Staying on data grid for a moment, how do you measure ROI on these agents?
I look at what the person did, what they're doing on a daily basis, how long it takes them to do that versus how long the agent can do it. And then also what steps it eliminates from the actual person doing that. If you think back on the early days of BIM, we tried to do that with BIM and saying, when you had a clash, okay, this clash didn't happen in the field. How many hours or how many RFIs or how much money do you think it would have saved? And then we used to do spreadsheets at Holder Construction, and we'd show this to trying to prove the value of BIM. And then eventually people stopped asking for that because they understood that there was a value.
None.
Yeah. Oh, there's none? Oh, come on. What have I been doing since 2005? Yeah, some people, even today, some people will say that. And maybe we do got to bring out the spreadsheet, but I can tell you though, there's so much other data out there that it's if you're not doing BIM on a job, then yeah, there's something wrong. But getting back to that, yeah. So to eliminate the naysayers, right? To say, okay, here's your contractor view of how things need to be, because we're all about numbers, right? Numbers and time, and and I feel like with AI, we're going to have to do that again, but maybe not as much, because we've had the past 20 years of innovation of all these different things that people in 2005 people didn't experience all that stuff, right? Construction technology was a new term, and now we have 20 years of practice, whether it's BIM, laser scanning, or other things. So there's going to be some level of validation with AI to where we might have to do some of that tracking and time and those types of things, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as much. And I feel like when you see what it can do, like I've seen, like it answered some things for me the other day that I was amazed by, and I'm a technology person. I think that amazement factor is going to eliminate that need as much. So it's yeah. And the one thing that excites me about AI also is data grids building out all these agents that are great, and they connect to everything. They used to be Torque, and they have all these connectors already. But because they're building out this framework now, they're basing this off of Gemini 2.5 and these things that are coming out, all their base models. Whenever a new base model comes out, their product automatically becomes better.
It's better,
yeah.
So you think about SaaS and other things where even Procore or anybody, they have to have developers and they're having to program all the time. You want a new option, you have to make a recommendation to them, and then they go through and they evaluate it for 6-7 months, and they said, yeah, we'll make our developers do this. Well, now, I mean, yeah, DataGrid and these and other AI companies have developers, but they have this base model that automatically makes that development 10 times better overnight, which is insane. So it's something that my fanboy's coming out right now, but
yeah. We
but
can
it's
tell, man.
something.
I can
Yeah.
feel the passion. It's good.
Yeah,
Feel the passion. but that's what excites me more than anything is just the instant improvement in what's going to happen with the software, and eventually
Yeah.
maybe replace SaaS altogether, right? And we're just
Mhm.
going to have AI agents for everything.
Certainly a
about-
discussion.
What about security? In the past, we've heard a few times that some startups coming and trying to sell to larger contractors, they don't have well thought out way of
SOC is the one now, right? SOC.
connecting.
SOC 2, I believe. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So what do you say to that?
I know DataGrid's got good security, and they clearly identify what their security is. I think it's and there's been some companies that have come out and with analysis of security and saying, hey, here's an analysis you can do, questions you can ask, and I've asked all those questions to them and made sure that we're good. That is something. We have an internal IT department, we have internal developers, internal legal counsel, and we're all very aware of that's something that's important when your data starts going out. I think that's probably the top priority for these AI companies is data security, and that is a top priority for general contractors as well. So,
Yeah.
because it's not just like ChatGPT where you just throw all your stuff in there and then it just goes somewhere and you don't know where it is. And I mean, this
And you
is
just think,
client
oh,
data.
whatever.
Sometimes it's associated with NDAs or other things. You have to be. I mean, federal stuff and FedRAMP and all the other things too, which are all important. When you're dealing with construction.
I'm curious, Paul. Does you made a comment about AI replacing SaaS, which has come up many times since we've been having these discussions. But does it make you more hesitant, therefore, to adopt a new, perhaps, software tool that exists already? If you think should I just wait 6 months and see whether there's an AI that comes out that does this?
I've had that contemplation before, and the thing that I've realized is so much stuff comes out all the time that you got to just pick one and go with it. Now, if it's bleeding edge, maybe wait a little bit. AI, I don't think it's bleeding edge. I think that's something that you have to do now. It's more of a necessity. But other things that maybe if you said no one's really looking at it or you haven't really heard about it, it's not very mainstream, then maybe wait a little while and see if that's something that's agentic AI might replace, or maybe that you if you don't absolutely need it, I could see that. But as far as SaaS products and things like that, I think there's still a place for those and a place for AI. And I think the one great thing about DataGrid is you can adopt a SaaS product and it's going to connect right into it because it connects into everything just about. So there's not a limitation there. You can have both, right? You can have AI and the product that you want to adopt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point. Good point.
Okay, last question about data grid. On this one, did you try different other startups trying to tackle the data problem, or that was perhaps recommendation and you just went with them?
I did try other ones. So I know Procore has Copilot out right now. They're working on, I think they do have a RFI beta out yet, but I haven't gotten on that one yet. I'm working on that just to evaluate. That's just a more recent beta. I think in terms of their agentic stuff, there's still a ways out, right? Trunk Tools, I talked to them a good bit, but their entry level was pretty difficult in terms of really just getting started. So but I had lots of evaluation with them and looked at their product and those types of things. So really, those are kind of the three that I really know of, the big three players right now. And the one thing I saw with DataGrid was it was just easy. It was easy to get in there. It was easy to start up.
Time to value.
because I want to start, right? That's why I'm trying to. I don't want to wait because it's AI, and I want to get going, because if you wait one day, AI's changed, right? So it was good. So
from what I recall from when we spoke to Tiago, that's all enabled by the fact that he had spent, I don't know, 4 or 5 years prior to that building all the data infrastructure mechanism, and which then enables the like speed at which they're able to deploy the agents, and which when he explained that, I was like, holy crap, I think you guys are onto something.
yeah, I mean, he don't have to wait the 4 years that everybody else is doing right now. He's ready. So and then just the onboarding is so much easier. They're like, oh, you want to do agentic AI? Okay, let's go next day, right? Able to do it. It's not 10 calls. It's not all this. Yeah. It's not painful. It's not painful. So that's, I mean, and that's about any kind of technology, is you want to make sure that you can make it easy for the general contractors. Cause I mean, I know tech vendors are busy, but we're busy too. And it just needs to be easy. And even if we're tech guys, we just want it to be simple, cause we have to convey this to our people, right? Our field guys, our project managers, and they want it to be simple and easy. And the more you can make it that way, the better. And the easier it is to adopt, the better. And sometimes it's not so easy with some of these companies. So that is one thing Data Grid is good at. So, yeah.
Hey listeners, I want to take a quick break to remind you about the Bricks and Bytes newsletter. If you're interested in learning about the technology shaping the future of construction, you won't want to miss the valuable insights we share each week. To get this exclusive content delivered straight to your inbox, head over to www.bricks-bytes.com and sign up today. Link is in the show notes. Back to the show.
What are your thoughts on the agents? Will the future be that general contractors creating agents within the organizations, or there is you need to ask the vendor to create a particular agent solving particular workflow?
I think both. I think there's ways to where you can get with the vendor as a consultant and then say, this is what I need, and these are the agents I want built out, and then they can work with you back and forth depending on who you have in your company, right? If you don't have a guy that's just pumped about AI every day like me and wants to build agents, then maybe you need that, right? Or if you got a guy like me that's going to build out some agents and then help you in that respect, then you can have that too. I mean, it's almost like you would say some companies don't have BIM guys, right? They outsource. Same thing. Some companies are not going to have AI guys, but what better company to outsource to than the company that has created the agentic AI, and that can help you. So I see these companies not only as a software company, but as a service company. They're creating a service, making sure that people are successful. Which Procore and other people have consulting services and things, but they're not building out custom software for one person quickly, right? And this is, this is not a slight on them. I mean, they're great at doing this. You can um, suggest things on their site, and then the people will upvote it, and that's how their development team works, which is fantastic. That's what makes Procore such a great product. But they're not going to go make you a custom observation tool tomorrow, right? And that's where this speed to market is going to be ideal in AI, because you're going to have these companies helping the contractor and say, oh, you want something to do that? Here you go. Next day, there it is. Or a guy like me just building it out within the company. So
Paul, how does a construction tech company that's reaching out to you, what makes them stick? Like what makes you go, oh, that sounds good? Or like what messaging perhaps do they use which gets your attention?
Cold calls really don't work with me. I don't answer too many of them or any of them. But I know that works with a lot of folks as far as getting out there. But I think it's just because I get so many. Because when you're the tech guy, you get a lot of stuff. So that message. So just in general, reaching out. I think a lot of times when they go through someone that I know, that helps in my terms, because then I have more validation about what's going on. Or if I mean, emails work sometimes, and that's more about the method of calling, method of reaching out. But as far as the messaging goes, I think it's simple messaging, saying what is the problem that we're addressing, and here it is. And then I've asked a lot of vendors to create like a 3-minute video for me, because a lot of them don't have it, 3 to 5 minute video. and then like a 1-page PDF that says what you do and why you bring value. Because a lot of times you'll get on like a demo and it'll be like they'll want an hour and it'll be very complex. And then I've got to think to myself, how can I dial all this down and actually decide if this is value or not? And then how am I going to get this to a busy executive that is only going to give me 3 minutes or 5 minutes, right? Not because they don't want to talk to me. It's just because it's a new tech. They know it's going to cost money, and they got a whole lot of other things to do. And there's 1,000 other new techs out there, and so getting to the point is a big deal in the construction industry, because that's what we live all day long. We're all about getting things done fast. And then if you get too detailed, too convoluted, and you can't dial your message down, then you're not going to be successful, in my opinion.
Very
Yeah.
good.
What's in your mailbox recently? The most, what type of technology have you been pitched about the most?
That have been pitched that I haven't done anything with yet.
Sitting
Yeah,
unread.
like what's hot?
I mean, I'd
man?
have to go pull up my email, and I can tell you it's about
6,000 unread emails.
20 of them. I mean, I think I'm just really focused on AI right now more than anything, and I'm trying to, not blinders, but I'm trying to just, because that's so much of what we're doing right now. I think there's other things that are handling schedules and other things that are specific to that I am looking at a little bit, because that is another gap in our services. Not in terms, we do excellent job at scheduling, but a gap in terms of what we can do better as far as analyzing that stuff. Which Data Grid does some of that with their agent, but there's some other things out there that I'm looking at too. Yeah, nothing in particular that comes to mind, just because I've been pretty invested in agentic AI right now.
Oh yeah, why the hell not?
Y'all got anything that I need to be looking at? I know you talk to everybody.
Well, actually, I will mention it because it was a fun one we discussed on Wednesday, whereby we create an AI agent that answers your cold calls for you. So it understands your like organizational needs, and then it so for example, you might have your priorities for the year or pain points that your field have that's constantly coming to you, and so all the agent answers the cold calls, speaks to the vendor, and basically says like, yeah, we're not interested in this right now. Actually, yeah, this is interesting. Let me send it to Paul, and Paul will look.
Do you want to invest?
Yes. Yes. I want the cold call agent to cold call me to invest.
Yeah. We need to vibe code this thing, man.
Every technology leader in the country just said, I want that, that's listening to this right now.
Yeah, that's
something to filter the noise. That's all we want. It's not that we're tech averse. It's just there's so much of it. Yeah, that would be amazing. I think there was 150 vendors at Procore at Groundbreak, just on construction tech.
Wow.
I mean, it's just like, and they're all great. I remember seeing everyone's like, "This is a fantastic idea." They go to the next one, it's like, "This is great too." And I mean, I needed just to carry the agent with me during that.
That's it. You could maybe get one on your phone and you just scan the exhibit hall, and it's like, based on your goals this year, you go to booth 70, 14, 110, done.
Yeah.
And then you can go home in like half a day.
I know.
Go and see your kids.
I need a Unitree humanoid just to walk me to the booth and tell me this is where you need to go. And then it talks to it, to the people.
Here we go. Here we go. Keep going.
Paul, what do you see these days? Mostly technology providing point solutions or solving points within the workflow, or the whole workflows? And what's the most, what are you looking for?
Now, when you talk about point solutions, I guess what do you mean by that? Just solving a problem, right?
Solving a very narrow problem within the workflow, rather than tackling more broader scope of problems and the whole workflow.
I think it's the whole workflow is what I've seen with a lot of these solutions. And that's why I've kind of asked them to dial it down a little bit in terms of I'm asking for the point and they're giving me the whole thing, right? I think when you're a technology solution, you probably do want to do the whole workflow, because it gives you a broader range to address everybody's problems. Because not everybody's going to have the one problem that MJ Harris has. But then when you're trying to sell it, it's tough because it's everything, right? And then people get overwhelmed. So that is a challenge. So dialing it down, I guess what's where these discovery calls come in and saying, we do all this stuff, but what is your point, and how can I cater that message to you to make it to where we are a point solution for your company, but we also do these other things. I don't think I answered your question, but those are my thoughts anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think what you're saying is, because it does it. It's difficult for a construction tech company to achieve scale if they just solve a very specific problem for one company, right? It doesn't make sense, and it's just never going to work out like that. So,
Yeah.
Paul, what you're saying is that these companies should, in some way, solve a bigger problem, but what you're looking for is like, but then your intent, is kind of, you're still looking for that specific solution to your pain. So,
Yeah.
it's almost a conundrum, to
I
some
know.
extent. And we get that as well. I see that all the time with people that we speak to in your position. It just made me think, like, how do construction software companies scale when that is the case? Become agentic,
And
do
they
everything.
need the cold call agent just to do the scaling agent too. Right?
Scaling agents next.
Yeah.
How do you go about adoption of technology, and how do you make sure that things are being adopted? You have any KPIs? How does it work?
So really measuring what the guys are doing. So say if I deploy an agentic AI in the field, and then I'm going out there and I'm saying, how many times did you use it, right? And then tracking that stuff and really saying, all right, this is what they used, this is what they didn't use, and these were the problems. So almost like you said, lessons learned and then challenges and then your constraints, almost like a constraint log. If you think about lean construction, a constraint log for technology, what are your constraints, what are your roadblocks, and then continuously refine that and log that and keep that data to where at some point it becomes what we need and what we want. And you do that for everything. There's always going to be problems, especially as technology evolves and gets better, and the the data grid we have today is not going to be the data grid we have in 3 months. It's going to change and get better, but then you're going to have new new challenges that you have to work through because it's going to have the capabilities going to be tenfold. Same thing for Procore or anybody, right? So I think it's constantly measuring from the boots on the ground what the challenges are and how to overcome them, and then not just saying, all right, we're done, and then abandoning it, just continually going back and checking. So one thing we do with training is you want to make sure that when I'm deploying something or a new job's getting started up, that we're training them on all the tech that's going to be on that job, but then checking in 4 or 5 times throughout that job on that training. I did an article in the I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Associated Builders and Contractors of America. Um, so I'm going to be the chair of that tech committee, and one of the things that we do
Congrats.
is we release a report every year. And so a couple years back, we did one on some of the articles were on training, and I had an article on training on that, and it talks about that in terms of anybody can reach out to me and I can send you that because it's great on kind of how we measure these types of results and how we go back and train 4 or 5 times on the same job, on the same type of tech, because the job changes and you're going to use that tech differently when the steel's being erected versus when you're just coming out of the ground, right? So there's different use cases for the tech to where you need to remind people or then also get that feedback loop from them on how that tech's being used. And then of course log it all and then use that as a lessons learned type of log and an improvement log as well.
Is that almost like a framework?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll send it. We'll put it in the show notes for this episode as well, so more people can.
Yeah, absolutely.
See.
Yeah.
Guys, I'll go one more. Then I need to shoot, so I'll leave you two to it. But Paul, how do you how important is post sale and customer? I mean, this is actually a really stupid question, but I guess you have been.
What'd you say, stupid question? There's no stupid questions.
That's true. I started saying it and I thought the answer is obvious, but perhaps what I'm trying to get is maybe a story out of you, or maybe I'm going wrong. So anyway, the question is, how important like customer success implementation, like having someone to call when you have an issue with a technology or whatever is important when it comes to people selling you technology or providing you
man,
technology.
it's so important, and that's something that there's been some big companies recently that have restructured to make that even better, right? Because it is, if you have this software that someone sold you and promised you all these things, and then they abandon you, then you're gonna lose a client eventually, and they're gonna switch. There's competitors out there everywhere, and somebody else is gonna do a better job with the CSM than you, and they're gonna flip them. And it's a little bit harder with some things like SaaS and things when you get embedded in with all your projects on a job. But eventually, if you're not providing that support, it's going to happen. Um, because technology in construction, no matter who you are, is still abstract. It's something that's not natural for us. And and I think the support is even more important than any other industry. Uh, that doesn't mean that we're not smart. We're full of, this industry is smart of is full of smart people that know how to do things and know how to build amazing things, but it's just kind of separate, right? It's something that we're all hands on with construction, and you think about tech, it's just still something that we're not easily doesn't easily get adopted. So CSMs are huge, and not just a CSM that doesn't have any kind of knowledge about what you do, right? You need to have somebody that, and you're seeing this in the industry now, that these large companies are moving away from just a general CSM that they just hire that has no industry experience, no, maybe a year or two experience as a CSM, and they just say, all right, well, I know I'm supposed to do something with this person. I'm supposed to just check the box and say I talked to them. No, they're actually actively engaged now, and they're saying, how can we solve your construction problems? How can we make the product that you've already paid a bunch of money for better? And then what are your pain points? It's not just a thing to where they're answering a support email or they're trying to say, yeah, I need, they have a question, I got to make sure I answer it, or I'm not doing my CSM job. They're reaching out now and they're saying, do you know that we have all these tools within the software? Are you using all these? And if you're not, why? If you're not doing that, then you're just spending developer money for no reason. You've gotten the developers that have made 100 different tools in this software product that no one's using because they don't have the proper CSM support. And so that's the low lift for a technology company, is the CSM support. The development takes a lot of time and money, but if you make something that nobody uses because you don't have the support on the back end, then you're failing. So yeah, that's, you can tell I feel strongly about that.
Yeah, no,
I just
I
talked
love it.
10 minutes about it.
Yeah, I wanted to ask actually about this because do you think it's a good technology when you need constant support and the solution doesn't provide good enough outcome that you need to ask, request, ask for tweaks, this kind of stuff? Because in the end of the day, that was meant to make your life better, right? To save time, which is money in the end of the day. So
yeah,
yeah.
I think it's good technology if you don't need a lot of support, right? You can see
I'm
about,
asking actually from like your point of view. We've been 20 years and we've been involved in technology. So how do you see this changing over time? Has it improved, or are we getting more technologies? However, they are not perfect.
I think the ease of use has improved, especially like LMS systems and things like that. Procore's got a great one, and the way they train and their certifications are excellent. That's some of the best stuff I've seen, and other softwares are following suit. So that is good as far as the self-training, and the onboarding has gotten better, much better over the years, because we are becoming more aware of the customer need. I think if you have something that's hard to use, people aren't going to use it. And if they continuously have to ask for support, they're not going to use it. I think when I'm getting back to in terms of CSM support is it's more of the, yeah, I would almost see that as separate than technical support. So, support at Procore.com if I have a question. But if I want to know more about my product overall, then I'm going to talk to my customer success manager and talk about how I can implement it better. I think that portion of it is improving and is still needed, no matter how easy the software is.
So it's like a sales engineer really who can not only
and they're actually calling it that now. They're calling it engineers instead of manager. They've changed the name.
Account manager.
On some of these companies have done that. So,
Paul, what is the most underserved area in terms of construction technology from contractors' point of view?
That's hard. That's hard for me to answer because I'm involved in all of it.
Site, is it site, or is it design, or maybe back office?
As far as a general contractor goes,
yeah.
I'm not sure.
That's okay.
What do you mean by site or design or back of office?
So, do you guys have design teams in house, or design is done by other folks?
Oh, as far as architects and things like that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, we're just a general contractor. I see what you mean now. So in terms of the overall AEC industry,
that's right.
I think the most innovation right now is coming from construction. Engineering, you got Revit and you got these things, and it's getting better, and you're starting to see some things that are making design faster and better. But I think the construction industry is still served more in terms of all the innovations and the things that are coming out. And that, I don't know if that's a result of just that we have more risk and that we need things that help us more, or maybe it's just because I'm a contractor and I see more innovations. But I mean, I also go to Autodesk University and that kind of things, and I see the design things, and I just feel like contractors are served more, and maybe the design side could still use some more innovation, especially in connecting contractors to designers and getting more feedback early on in terms of how the design is developed and the budget and the overages that go along with that. If we can avoid that and avoid scope creep and keep within a budget and have more of a connected experience between the contractor and the designer, even all the way up to schematic design, conceptual development, those types of things early on. If the contract allows it, the better. So as the tools start to marry and become more collaborative to where, hey, if you're modeling something, then we could say, yeah, that's probably going to be out of budget or that's not in the scope. And it's like a back and forth kind of instant thing, which there are some tools that are starting to go that way. But if there's something, I think AI is going to be something that really enables that to where it becomes more of a master builder type thing. Early on, 100 years ago, everybody did everything, right? You had the designer and the contractor. It was a master builder mentality. If we can get back to that through technology to where we don't have surprises when we're estimating a job and all of a sudden it's out of budget and then it has to go back and be rebid or repriced. And then all of a sudden you're a year down the road and then you still haven't built the building because you're redesigning. If we can avoid all that, it's not because architects aren't doing their job. There's just a disconnect, right? And we need to become more connected. And I think agentic AI and things like that are going to bring the designer's technology up more to where the contractor is.
But would you say that there will be much better design produced by architects and designers and then passed on the contractor, or there will be perhaps software dedicated directly to the contractor side, so then they can design it in detail and so that things are buildable and within the cost?
I think the design aspect, it would be something that doesn't limit creativity, because architects are great. They're artists. They're great at being creative and making beautiful buildings, something that you're going to see for the next 100 years when you drive past downtown every day, right? But there needs to be a way to where the contractor can be involved in that from a constructability standpoint and a price standpoint, to where it's all married together and it's all one great product early on, that when we continue as a team and construct it. Now, they've talked a lot about IPD. I know I've heard about it for 10 years or 15 years.
What's
and
IPD,
it's still integrated project delivery.
Okay.
So this is something that some projects do, but it's never really caught on in our industry. Like I would tell you 15 years ago, we thought we'd all be doing this. And it's one where the owner, contractor, and the designer are all one company and they deliver this project together. Because of the way contracts are and just the nature of our projects and construction, see them at risk. Design, bid, build has kind of been what it is, at least in my world and a lot of people's world. But I think there's a way for AI to allow that delivery method to exist and for us still to collaborate more than we are right now. So,
okay. I wanted to ask you about your thoughts on the ways that startups, technology providers are charging general contractors. Like, what's the favorite way of charging from contractors' point
oh
of view?
man,
What's the
a
most
lot of
hated as well?
oh, all of them. If you talk to a contractor, it's all of them. Everybody wants everything to be free, right? But then we wouldn't have any technology companies. So I think the revenue-based one seems to be the most commonplace one for a lot of these companies. It's also one that people don't like, but it's kind of hard to grasp. I mean, you can't really do user-based because then the technology company is not going to make any money. And if you do user-based, it'd have to be like a huge amount per user and then tracking all that. So, I mean, Procore is a good example. They do revenue-based. I mean, that's what they have to do. And then it's unlimited users. And you really have to do it that way because you need unlimited users with your trade partners and everybody else for things like cloud-based management system to even work, because everybody needs to collaborate. Yeah, I think with AI, there's talks of unlimited use, and then you have like this huge number, or maybe use by actual a usage base. So that's something that I kind of like the usage base a little bit better because you're dealing with data more so, and it allows you to have more of a entry level use of the AI. So that's a little bit different than a SaaS product. I like that model better than just paying a huge amount of money and then not really knowing what you're getting, right? That's what I like about Data Grid. But it's different when you're talking about SaaS based products with revenue based. Yeah, and that's what I'm seeing in the industry. User base has kind of gone away, right? In terms of you're paying this flat rate as a user. So I
Okay.
don't really know the answer to that. To be
I
honest
mean,
with you,
there's no. I don't think there's
yeah.
right answer. There's just emotions around that.
Yeah, emotions. People
Yeah.
are very emotional when it comes to spending money on technology because it's something that you can't see and you're not sure if it's going to work or not. Like we'll
Yeah.
go spend money on a forklift because we
Because it's
know it's there
tangible.
and we
Yeah.
know what it's going to do, right?
Yeah.
They say, oh, that rental that forklift was however many thousands of dollars, and it's like no brainer. Let's do it. Then when you do this software, like hey, this software is going to do this. Like I can't see it. I don't know where it is. So the money guys on these projects are a little more hesitant to spend that, right? So it is I feel for the technology companies when it comes to trying to get people to pay for stuff. And I'm just as guilty as anyone in trying to say, oh, I mean, I guarantee you someone's listening to this right now that works for a software company and be like, Paul, you just told me that yesterday about money, right? And it's true because people like in my position, we have to convince the people in the executive positions to pay for these things, but then you have to convince them to pay something that they can't see, that they haven't
Evaluate.
experienced. They know about forklifts. They may not know about that, right?
Cool.
Yeah.
Have you evaluated any tangible technology like robotics, which are actually doing the work on site, or have you approached?
Yes.
Yeah. Tell us about
Yes. And that's something that excites me a lot. I mean, you guys have probably seen the J-Bot by Hilti that's drilling holes. I like that one because it works on site and you can rent it. I haven't done it personally on a job, but I think that's where things are going is this whole rental mentality of you don't need to spend $200,000 on a Boston Dynamics spot. And because first of all, we couldn't do that. Even though we're a $300 million company, we couldn't and wouldn't. But things like teleworker AI, which is something I'm excited about in terms of robotics, um, is you're able to get a Unitree dog out there on your site with a 360 photo outfit on it to where this thing will go and capture 360 photos or laser scanning or whatever you need whenever you need it, and you can rent it on a monthly basis, a low monthly cost, to where a lot of jobs wouldn't even think about it. Say, hey, that's something that's going to do something that's going to free up my field or project engineer to not have to take photos as much, and they can go do something else and add quality somewhere else. Um, that's a no-brainer. And so I know one thing with teleworker I know is they allow it. They have somebody on the other end of that robot sitting somewhere, and they help guide it. So it's not all autonomous. There's human interaction, which I think is important from a safety standpoint and from just a quality standpoint.
Accuracy, yeah.
Yeah, that you got somebody kind of help guiding that robot when it needs it. And I see that being the future of robotics is, AI and autonomy is good, but really people are where it's going to be at with that. And then cheaper rentable robots like teleworker AI is where that's going to be, in my opinion.
Okay. And the last one would be your advice to startup founders in construction technology space.
I think I've said this a good many times, but right, solve a problem that you know is a problem, and then show that it's a problem, and maybe have some type of backup from the construction industry that's a problem. Whether it's you that you're a founder that has construction experience in the industry, or finding someone that can be an advocate for you that's from the industry, that says, yeah, this is a problem, and these are the pains I've had before, and now your product solves it. So if you can't do that, then I wouldn't invest money and create something, right? Because you got to find the issue. You don't want to create something and not be sure that's an issue, and not have the backup that's an issue, because then you're just kind of spinning your wheels, I think.
Okay, Paul.
Yeah.
Thank you. Tell us where people can find out more about you and MJ Harris Construction.
MJHarris.com is a great place to go to find out more about our company and the projects we do. We go anywhere in the country, build anything, just let us know. And then particularly for me, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Just Google LinkedIn, search my name, and then you can follow some of the tech stuff that I'm doing at MJ Harris, or places I'm speaking or other things. We've got AEC TechCom. Speaking of speaking, is coming up. That one's in Missouri, so that's going to be a great one. They'll be speaking about in terms of bridging the gap between the office and the field, and really that connection, which I think is incredibly important. And then definitely reach out to me if you have any questions about tech in general. I don't care if you're a competitor or not. And more than likely you're not a competitor. We have a small handful of competitors. But I think just talking to people about technology is extremely valuable, and that's one of the reasons I do these types of podcasts and things, is because I want to be able to display my opinion to people, and then I want to get feedback back. So that's where I get a lot of the value, is people giving their opinion and reaching out to me. So the more of that I can get, the better. So yeah, please. Also, Paul H at mjharris.com is my email. But definitely LinkedIn, you can reach out to me as well. So yeah, thanks for having me. This has been great. It's great questions too.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. A pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Just at an hour.
Just a little bit more than an hour, yes.
Yeah. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much. You can cut that out if I did.
No. All good. Where the hell is this button here? Oh, I lost the stop button, actually.
Oh. See, this is a Joe Rogan podcast now.
Yeah.
3 hours. I need more questions. Let's go.
That's so funny.
I'm going to start in some software demos now and share my screen.
That's so funny. No, I don't have a button to finish it off. Yeah. So okay, still recording.
All right.
So we can't gossip, unfortunately.
Let's talk about Owen.
Yes. Yeah. Cool. No, thanks for that. We'll probably be airing it in the next between 3 to 4 weeks. So
Okay.
on the day of the release, we will. On the week of the release, we'll send you an email. So you can also share it further. Yeah.
Sounds good. How was you have any, you do these all the time. You got any kind of feedback for me or any of that kind of stuff? Pretty good?
No.
Honest feedback.
Yeah, of course. Let me just think. No, I honestly don't. I think it was we probably did like 20, maybe 25 of like innovation managers, and I think you guys are pretty much
all the same.
Pretty much like hitting the same spots. Yeah, so that means that the industry is kind of like moving in the similar direction. Yeah, obviously there are differences between companies and how they approach the innovation. Like for example, DPR, they have like innovation centers, they test robots, this kind of stuff, but that's specific to the company and size and obviously the budget.
Oh
right?
Yeah. I mean, they're multi-billion, and I know those guys, and I would say with some of the bigger companies, you're probably going to have that type of, which is cool. I kind of like the mid-size approach, like, oh, we don't have a robot, can't afford it.
Yeah. No, I also like the vibe when I speak with you, when we spoke with you just now, it's that you are very hands-on on so many things. So there is like a shorter path between the technology and application, I think, like, and the feedback is much shorter. Yeah, which is good. But that's the feature of a smaller, well, still big, but smaller organization. Yeah, than compared to sound. So
yeah, because the bigger
you are very well like on point on just because the organization requires it. Yeah. So
yeah, some of the bigger organizations, you'll have like construction tech guys that do laser scanning and drones, and then you have VDC guys over here, and they're totally separate. Or you'll have like an innovation guys too. So you got like 3 different groups, and they work on 3 different things, right? And so the one good thing about me is I'm working on everything all at once, and I'm also one person, so it's just so it's kind of like one point of contact. So it's kind of good, and it gets hectic sometimes, but I like it. So yeah.
Cool. Can we help somehow? I don't know. Are you looking for something? Maybe we could be helpful in any way.
Oh, as far as hiring,
no, not necessarily hiring, but well, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think because you guys know everybody, I can definitely reach out and let you know. Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, if you want a connection with someone, or you want to explore or you want to approach some startups, or if you want some intel, maybe we might know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And if any startups need any opinions about stuff, let me know. Too. I'm always good at giving opinions. You can tell. I'm very opinionated. I don't know if they're always right, but it's an opinion. So
like you said, you're open to feedback. So
cool.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Have the rest of the Friday and a good weekend, and stay in touch.
All right, thanks, Martin. I'll see you.
Thank you. See ya. Bye.
Bye.